Hello, my name is Bonnie Chermak, and I am currently a graduate student at the University of Alabama. I am currently studying issues and trends in instructional technology. I wanted to share with you what I've learned and how you can have a successful career in instructional design. I've been an instructional designer for the past 5 years for a large insurance company. I have loved every second of my job, and this class has really opened my eyes to the potential of continuing my studies and broadening my career aspirations. On this poster, you can see that instructional design models and learning theories have been around for several decades. A career in instructional design is one that is fulfilling and exciting as is always changing due to new technology enhancements. Let's get started with the introduction to instructional design. Instructional design is the system of designing, creating, and delivering instructional content and experiences to learners. The content can either be in person or virtual. The goal is for knowledge to be shared in an effective and efficient way. It also includes a learner analysis, goals, objectives, and training. Always design with the end result in mind and know the desired outcomes. When it comes to being an instructional designer, it is important to become familiar with design models and learning theories. You can easily learn all about this by pursuing education. Whether you have a bachelor's degree, a master's, or you want to receive a doctorate, there is information easily accessible in a degree like instructional technology at any level. While in your studies, you will hear about design models and why they are important. Design models are the foundation to an instructional designer's work, as we use models to help shape our work and guide our stakeholders through the design process. The most common models used are the ADDIE model and SAM model. The ADDIE model is made up of 5 parts: analyze, design, develop, implement, and evaluate. It was created to provide content developers with a process to follow to develop courses. The ADDIE model was founded back in 1975 by the Center for Educational Technology at Florida State University. This model was one of the first models created for learning and design. This design is commonly used in most instructional design jobs today. The other popular model is the SAM model, and it's a take on the original ADDIE model. The SAM model was created in 2012 by Michael Allen. It was created because of the Agile method. It takes a rapid design and development approach. The SAM model is broken into 3 phases: preparation, iterative design, and iterative development. This model has gained more momentum lately, with more companies adopting the Agile method of completing work. When looking at learning theories, there are quite a few out there. The most popular are behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, and connectivism. Each of these learning theories holds their own idea of how their learning method is approached and how the learner is in the learning process. We'll start with behaviorism. You usually have a teaching method of lecture, drill and practice, and multiple choice tests with passive learners present. Now with cognitivism, you normally see a teaching method of lecture, visual tools, essay assessments, which helps build on a learner's short and long-term memory. When it comes to constructivism, you typically see a teaching method of discovery, collaboration, and self-guided learning, with a learner that is building on a person's experiences and is active in the learning process. And the last learning theory is connectivism. This learning theory has a teaching method of self-directed quests for content, sharing content, and spontaneous learning groups, and the learner is typically a self-directed learner within a network of people. When working as an instructional designer, there are many technology platforms to use in your everyday job. The technology always improves and changes with new technology advances. It is important as an instructional designer to stay up to date on new technology and be familiar with the platforms used across most companies. Technology does often change, so as an instructional designer is familiar with several technology platforms, it's important to stay up to date on changes and updates that are made. Most technology platforms have their own form of training and job aids that a designer can access at any time. We'll look at those different platforms in a bit. If you're looking to get into an instructional design career, there are many opportunities out there among many companies. Here are the common job titles that you will see, and I'll explain what each one of them are. An instructional designer role is normally the person that is actually creating the design plan. They're meeting with the stakeholders and they're identifying the learning objectives. If you're a curriculum developer, you're normally responsible for creating the actual content. So you're receiving the design plan from the instructional designer and you're actually developing the content. As an instructional technology specialist, you normally are the one working on both the design and the developing content. If you can land a role, this is probably the best role because you get to do both. You get to create the design plan, identify the learning objectives, meet with the stakeholders, and then you actually get to develop that content and see what the stakeholders think of your content. Another role is an instructional design manager. So you are typically managing designers and are in charge of project timelines. So really you're responsible for making sure that the designers are doing the work that they need to. You're making sure that the timelines are being met and that your work is being handled appropriately on the team. You're also probably meeting with stakeholders as well to identify what work needs to be completed. And then you're bringing that work back to your instructional designers so they're aware of what work they need to complete. And then another role is the director of educational technology. So in this role, you're normally a visionary. You're coming up with new ways for designers to do their work. You're also responsible for gatekeeping what the team does and does not do. There's going to be a lot of times where the stakeholders will want you to basically do anything and be able to create anything for any department. But as the director, it's your responsibility to identify what work your team will do, what they'll be responsible for, what the roles look like, and how the stakeholders will play a part in that. In order to be a successful instructional designer, you must possess the following skills. You can see that on the poster there. Most of the job postings today require several years of professional experience in systematic approaches to curriculum development. They want to make sure that you have a system in place, which, going back to the models, that's something that you can use to really make sure that you are using a system to create that content. A lot of other postings are also looking for several years of experience developing training programs. And this is something that you definitely want to bring to the table if you can. There are many instances where an instructional designer will start out as a trainer role, and then they'll move into the design of the content because they are normally the ones in the classroom training the content. So they get really familiar with what the learners need, and having them bring that experience from a training classroom into a design role is really special and unique. Also, having experience in designing and developing instructor-led training programs is really a plus, and using a variety of learning strategies to best meet the instructional goals. So that really goes back to the learning theories and really just being aware of how adults really take in information and using the instructors to the best of their ability. It's also really important to keep in mind the variety of learning strategies because those always need to tie back to the instructional goals. There's a lot of times where content is created and it's great content, but it doesn't always go back to the instructional goals, the learning goals that were identified in the beginning. Bring experience designing and creating self-paced, interactive e-learning instructional content. And so this is a really big one today, right? Because a couple of years ago, as we know, COVID really changed the game for instructional design and training as a whole. And it really made designers and trainers and companies determine how they're going to have content created, how are they going to have the content provided to learners in a virtual space. Because before, a lot of times you're in a classroom, you're with learners, you're face-to-face with them, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're creating content for somebody that's sitting at their own computer, really teaching themselves from the content that you create. And so that is definitely the future of training and content design as well, because we need to always be thinking, how is this going to come across to somebody in a virtual space? You can see in the next box, I ran a search on LinkedIn to see how many instructional design jobs are out there, and I found over 5,000 jobs. This search was done in just the US. Those are just US based jobs alone. That's an amazing amount of jobs, and it clearly shows that there's a market for this role and many others in this field. When looking at those jobs, you can see that the titles are different, but the job skills are typically the same. So if you bring those job skills that are mentioned above to these roles and have those in your resume, you probably have a great chance of getting a great job. Next, you'll see we talked about earlier the software programs that designers use. So the main software design programs that most companies want you to have experience with are the following. The main one is Articulate 360. This is a main system, but it has many mini systems within the program. So one of the big ones is Storyline and Rise. Storyline is a great software program that you can use to create content. There's many different ways you can use that software to the ability and into your ability as a designer and really help shape the content to meet the learning objectives. And Rise is a really quick and easy way. Articulate gives you templates. So you can just use a template and choose a template that works for you. So it's really quick and easy. If you have a quick deadline, that's the system that you want to use. Camtasia is also another system that's pretty popular. It allows you to create content and edit videos, very similar to some features in Articulate Storyline. You also see Beyond. Beyond is strictly a video creating software where you can really add some dimension to your learning. I really like Beyond specifically. I like the other ones too, but Beyond is really neat because it is simply just videos, but it really makes your content come to life. So if there's places in your content where you can add a quick video or help the learner just, see content in a different way, Beyond is a great option for you. And the last one mentioned is Adobe Captivate. So it's also a suite of products similar to Articulate. My milestone study plan for my future is to support my career goal of becoming an instructional design director for a large company. I need to make sure my education is solid in order to get this type of role. I will need to complete some further education. I also want to make sure I'm well-rounded when it comes to the knowledge that I bring to the role. I have about a year left in my studies at the University of Alabama, and after I graduate, I am looking at possibly getting my doctorate in gamification in education. In order to accomplish this educational goal, I do need to make sure that I'm staying focused to complete my master's well. I need to make sure that I take the right classes that will push me to the next level, and to really take classes that will help me in the long run if I pursue my doctorate. I also want to work on networking with others in my school here at University of Alabama, and I also want to work on networking within my company where I currently hold my career as an instructional designer. It's really important to network because you can really glean from those that have gone ahead of you. You can pull from their knowledge and then start applying it to what you do every day. I also want to make sure that I'm getting involved in the right areas in my current career. I have recently been promoted in my role from a lead analyst to an advisor. This promotion has really allowed me to push past my own knowledge and gain new knowledge. I've also gained skills in project management, which is something that we do heavily as an instructional designer. There are times where you're going to be actually running the project. So it's actually really great. I should put a plug in for that getting some project management type of knowledge or education under your belt for that is great too, because you do a lot of that in an instructional design space. So being promoted in my role, I was a lead analyst and now I'm an advisor, which has been really great too, because I've been able to really expand just the knowledge that I brought to the table. And I get to do projects that are really outside of my everyday tasks. Thank you so much for watching this presentation. Having a successful instructional design career is possible if you get the right education, get started in a job at a company who really takes interest in your learning and career plans, and really push yourself to stay up to date on technology trends and innovation. Technology is always changing and it's always getting better. So one way that you can always stay up above your competitors or peers or your peers is to stay up to date on what's changing in the technology world, what new software is out there, what new programs are out there available to us as designers. Knowing all these things and bringing all the education to the table will allow you to be successful and grow in your career aspirations. Thank you.